Welcome to the Tell Us Ellis podcast.
Welcome back to the Tell Us Ellis podcast. Today, I want to do a couple of things. I want to go over my Week 13 power ratings for MLB, and then I want to talk about three wrestling shows tonight. One of them is going to start here in about 8 minutes with a pre-show, and that's the TNA Slammiversary show, but that's okay. We'll get through it. I'll get this out as quickly as possible after I record it, and can have you all listen to it and let me know your thoughts. Speaking of which, if you do listen to this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, whether that's on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Just hit the subscribe button. That way you get a feed. It'll pop up right on your phone. If you're getting in your car and you want to listen to something, it'll pop up any new episode and you can listen to it right there. If you like the podcast, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment. I would love to get critical feedback and make improvements along the way. I'd appreciate it if you could follow me on my social media channels, especially X, but that can also be Instagram and TikTok at Tell Us Ellis HQ. And then if you have any questions, just email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. So with that, let's get into the Week 13 MLB Power Ratings. Okay, so as always, I'm going to start from the back of the list and work my way front, and I will go with the Colorado Rockies to start, and I'm not moving them. They were 4-3 last week. Not bad, but they are 33 wins and 50 losses on the year. Their run differential's -88. It is the worst in baseball. Colorado has kind of locked in on this number 30 spot. 29, I'm going to take the Angels out of the 29th spot, and I'm going to move the Royals all the way back to 29. It kind of pains me to do that given the success they've had over the last couple of years. Look, they've got a lot of injuries on their team right now. Their pitching is not what they thought it would be. Cole Reagans needs surgery of some kind. We don't know really what it is. I think they want to do some exploratory surgery in there. This is not a team that's going to unbury themselves. I have them as the 29th best team. They were 2-5 last week, 34 wins and 50 losses overall, a -71 run differential. The Royals are my 29th team in baseball. I'm going to keep the Giants at 28. They were 3-4 on the week. They're 34 wins and 48 losses. Their run differential's -51. So I'm going to keep the Giants there, and I'm going to move the Angels up to 27. Here's the deal. They were 5-2 last week. But even more than that, they're 35-49, and their run differential's -39. That is the best out of those bottom four teams. They have a similar record to the Giants and a better record than everybody else in that bottom four. They did fire their general manager, Perry Manasian, this week. They've got some things they have to do. This is a franchise that you knew for the last couple of years really needed to invest in their minor league system. I don't know if they did it as well as they could have. They've got the means to spend. You look at it, Mike Trout, unfortunately, hasn't played in a lot of postseason games. They lost Shohei Ohtani to the Dodgers, and this is just a complete rebuild of a team, a rebuild on top of a rebuild. So the Angels come in at number 27. Number 26, I'm going to keep the Twins where they are. The Twins, they're 39-45. That's not terrible. Their run differential's -31. They were 3-4 last week. If you look at the standings, they find themselves only 5.5 games out of first place in the American League Central. Pretty unbelievable. They're 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. They've actually played a little bit better than I thought they would, even though they're 39-45. But I will keep the Twins at the number 26 spot. I'm going to move the Tigers out of 25, and I'm actually going to move the Mets back to 25. This is one of my bigger movers for the week. They're down 3 spots. Look, the Mets were 1-7 last week. They fired Carlos Mendoza, their manager. They're 35-48 on the year. Their run differential is a -44. This is a team that is completely underperformed. There was a lot of concerns at the outset of free agency that they didn't do enough. Then they made this big run. They get, Bo Bichette. They made some other moves, and you just felt like this was a team that really had a chance to do something in this National League East, but they're not, and I don't think they recover from this. If they do, it would be a miracle. But the Mets, I have them as the 25th best team in baseball right now, really, really struggling. Let's see here. I am going to move the Astros out of 24, and I'm going to move the Tigers up one spot. So it's interesting. Tarek Skubal is now back. The Tigers were 4-4 last week. Don't get me wrong; they're 35-48. They've got a lot of ground to make up. The Tigers are 9 games out of first, 6 games out of a wild card spot. This is not the hardest division. If they wanted to make a comeback, they could. You're looking at the White Sox in first place, the Guardians a game behind them, the Twins 5.5 back, and the Tigers 9 back. Look, I still think, depending on what they do with Skubal at the trade deadline, if they keep him, I think this is a team that still could make a run. So I'm moving the Tigers up one spot. Still have them at number 24 for now, but let's see if they can make a run here. I'm going to move the Orioles out of 23, and I'm going to move the Astros into the 23rd spot. For the Astros, that's up a spot. They were 5-3 last week. Look, they're 41-44. Their run differential's not good. They're minus 44 in run differential. But if you look at the Astros, they've kind of made a little bit of a comeback here, and they're only a game and a half out of first place, incredibly. Again, the Mariners lead the division at 42-42. The Astros 41-44. So it is not inconceivable that this team could come back and win this division. They certainly, the Astros have, I think, the hitting to do so. They're 13th in the league in hitting with a 725 OPS. That's not their issue. Their big issue has been their pitching. Their pitching is, and they've made some improvements here, but their pitching is 26th in the league with a team ERA of 4.77. So if their pitching can get a little bit better and their hitting stays consistent, who knows? Maybe they could make a run here. Right now, I have them as the 23rd best team in baseball. I'm going to move the Orioles up a spot to 22. Not a big change here. So the Orioles were 4-3 on the week. Their overall record is 39-45. They're minus 24 in run differential. They're losing today 3-2 to the Nationals. But again, this is a mediocre team, and they keep showing flashes that they're going to do something, but then they don't. So I just don't know what to say right now. I'm not very high on them. I have them as the 22nd best team in baseball, bottom tier team. Red Sox, same thing. They're the 21st team in baseball. Now, I will say, the Red Sox, they were 5-3 last week. They're still only 35-46, but their run differential is now positive. They are now at a +4 run differential. Again, not seeing them make a big move here. I think I saw Marcelo Mayer just went on the IL. They've got some work to do, and I don't think in this division they're going to be able to do it. Could they make a run at a wild card? Perhaps. They're 5 games out of a wild card right now. A lot of ground to make up, a lot of teams in front of them. All right, so that's the bottom tier. Let's now go to the second to last tier, and let's talk about the 20th team in baseball. I'm going to move the Marlins out, and I'm going to move the Reds back from 19 to 20. The Reds this past week were 4-3. They're 39-42 on the year. Not bad, but they're minus 46 in run differential. If I look at the standings right now, the Reds find themselves 11.5 games out of first, 4 games out of a wild card spot. The Reds continue to kind of teeter on the brink here. So again, Reds, I have them at the 20th spot. 19th, I'm going to move the A's back from 18 to 19. The A's consistently inconsistent. They were 2-5 this week. They're 40-43 overall. Their run differential is minus 51. The only thing that's keeping them in this race right now is how bad the American League West has been. The Athletics 1.5 games out of first place, 1 game out of a wild card. Again, I don't think they're a good team right now. They're a young team, a developing team, an up-and-coming team, but again, very inconsistent on the year, and not convinced that they are going to do much the remainder of the season. So I have them as the 19th team. The Nationals, I'm going to move from 17 to 18. I still have a lot of love for the Nationals. They were 3-5 last week. They're playing 500 baseball, 42-42. Their run differential is +3. That is not bad at all. Maybe I'm over or undervaluing them. I just think that they still have work to do. They're still a young developing team. And, 8.5 games out of first place, 2.5 out of a wild card. I have moved the Nationals back a spot to number 18. Number 17, I'm going to move the Marlins up to 17. That's up 3 spots from last week. They were 6-1 last week. They're now 44-39 with a +11 run differential. They're 18th in the league in hitting, 11th in the league in pitching. This team has really been coming on of late. They are now 3rd place in the National League East. They're 6 games out of first. If the season ended today, they would be in a wild card spot. Again, really well-balanced team that's kind of found themselves here a little bit. And this is the Marlins. This is kind of what you get. A young core that tries to grow, and they do enough to keep it competitive, but unfortunately end up a lot of times trading off their best players. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline this year. Again, right now, they're 4 games above 500. So I've got the Marlins as the number 17 team. Number 16, I'm moving the Rangers out, and I'm moving the Blue Jays from 13 to 16. A little bit of a reality check here on the Blue Jays this past week. They were 2-5. They're now 39-44. They're -32 from a run differential standpoint. I thought they were making a move, but when I take a step back and look at that run differential and look at that they're 5 games below 500, not digging this team right now, and I think having them as the 16th best team is exactly where I think they should be, and I'll leave it at that. I'm going to move the Padres out of 15 and put the Rangers at 15. The Rangers, they were 5-3 this past week. They're 41-42 overall. Their run differential's -9. Wyatt Langford did just go in the IL, which is going to hurt them a little bit. But the Rangers, again, they're keeping it in there, 41-42. That puts them just a half a game out of first place in the American League West. And if the season ended today, they would be a wild card team. So, of course, if I have the Rangers at 15, then I must have the Diamondbacks right by them. And I do. I kept the Diamondbacks at number 14. They were 2-5 on the week. They're 41-41. Their run differential is a little worse than the Rangers at -27, but I'm keeping them neck and neck right there. It's 15-14. The Diamondbacks, even though they have a little bit of a better record, whereas the Rangers are a half game out of first, the Diamondbacks are 11.5 out of first in the National League West, just because the Dodgers' dominance. So, but again, if the season ended today, the Diamondbacks would be 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. So they still can make a postseason run, but right now I've got the Diamondbacks at number 14. All right. Number 13, I'm going to put the Padres at number 13. That's an improvement. That's +2. The Padres were 5-2 last week. I do have to appreciate their 43-38 record. The run differential is negative. It's -11. And, look, they're 9 games out of first place, but if the season ended today, they would be a wild card team. So got to take all of that into account, and I'm going to keep the Padres or move the Padres up 2 spots to my number 13 team. All right, now I'm going to get into what I'll call the playoff position teams because there's 12 teams that make the playoffs. These are my top 12 teams. Doesn't necessarily mean these would all make the playoffs, but they're just the top 12 teams that I have rated. Number 12, 11, 10, and 9, I have not moved from last week. So the White Sox are going to stay at number 12. They were 4-3 this week, 43-38 overall. And that's incredible. 43-38. That is 5 games above 500. Remarkable for the White Sox. They are 8th in the league in hitting, 17th in the league in pitching. A very good young team, and I keep them at number 12. I'm keeping the Pirates at number 11. They were 3-4 this past week, 41-42. They're 1 game below 500. They're +23 in run differential. Connor Griffin's coming back, or is back now. Maybe the Pirates can make a little bit of a run. The division's going to be tough. They're 10.5 out because the Brewers have been so dominant. The Pirates are 3 games out of a wild card spot. Let's see if bringing Connor Griffin back from the IL will help them. I have them as the number 11 team. Number 10, again, didn't move them from last week. I have the Cardinals at number 10, 2-4 on the week, 42-38 overall, -9 in run differential. They're 16th in the league in hitting, 19th in pitching. See if they can hang on a little bit. They're in 3rd place in the National League Central, 8 games out of first, a half a game out of a wild card spot. So I've got the Cardinals at number 10. And then the Guardians, I kept them at number 9. They were 3-4 on the week. They're 43-40 overall. Their run differential's -9. They're 7th in the league in pitching, which is really good, but they're 28th in hitting. The Guardians right now are 1 game out of first place. If the season ended today, they would be 2 up in the wild card, which is good for them. So the Guardians, I'm going to keep where they are. Again, good young team with some good young pitching. That is my number 9 team. All right, number 8. I'm moving the Phillies out of number 8, and I'm going to move the Mariners back 1 to number 8. The Mariners continue to play this silly game of just not wanting to make a move. They were 3-4 last week. They're 500, 42-42. The run differential's +5. They're 5th in the league in pitching, but they're 26th in the league in hitting. That hitting has got to come along, and I keep thinking as it warms up a little bit, maybe in Seattle, maybe the bats will get hot. But again, 42-42. Now they're still in first place, but only by a half game over the Rangers. We'll see what happens, but I had to move the Mariners back a spot, not just because of their mediocrity, but I also wanted to move the Phillies up a spot to number 7. So after a really bad start, the Phillies are now 46-37. Their run differential is actually positive now. It's +1, but it's positive. They're hitting the ball better. They're up to 23rd in the league in hitting, and they're 13th in the league in pitching. This team has made a lot of moves lately as far as moving up the standings. They're now 4 games behind the Braves, who have come back to earth a little bit. 4 games behind the Braves for the division. They're up 2 in the wild card. This is a veteran team, this Phillies team, so see what they can do. I've moved them up to my number 17. All right. My second tier teams, I kept the Rays right where they are at number 6. They were 5-3 on the week. They're 47-33. They're +20 run differential, 11th in the league in hitting, 9th in the league in pitching. I don't think they're going anywhere. I said last week if there was a team that I could see moving back, it would be them. And it still might be, but it was good to see them come back a little bit this week, going 5-3. The Cubs I kept as the number 5 team, and I did that. They're starting to play a lot better. They were 5-2 last week. They're now 45-38 on the season. Run differentials +39, which is really good. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 5th best in the league. Am I right with that? Yeah, 5th best in the league from a run differential standpoint. Their pitching has been what's hurt them, but they're 18th in the league in pitching. That stabilized a little bit. They're 5th in the league in hitting. Again, I said it at the beginning of the year. I really like this Cubs team. I still do. I'm going to keep the Cubs at number 5. All right. Number 4, I'm moving the Brewers out of number 4, and I'm actually moving the Yankees back to number 4. It was not a good week for the Yankees. The Yankees went 2-6 this week. They're now 48-34. Their run differential is +102. They're 2nd in the league in hitting, 1st in the league in pitching. They're still a really good team, but I had to move them back, not so much to punish them, but just because the Brewers have been so darn good. I have the Brewers at the number 3 spot now. The Brewers went 5-2 last week. They're 50 wins and 30 losses on the year. They're +121 in run differential. They're 10th in the league in hitting, 2nd in the league in pitching. I just felt it appropriate to move them over the Yankees. Again, I think these top 4 teams, really top 5 teams, are really good. And you might see some flip-flopping like I did here. But yeah, I have the Brewers at 3 and the Yankees at 4. I was very tempted to move the Braves back. But when the Yankees had a bad week, the same week that the Braves had a bad week, I wasn't going to move the Braves behind the Yankees, and I'm not ready to move the Brewers ahead of the Braves yet. Okay. The Braves were 2-5 last week. They're 49-32 on the year. They are a plus 89 in run differential. They've lost 11 of their last 15. Um, Bryce Elder can't throw the ball right now. He's struggling mightily. Spencer Strider's on the IL. Remember, though, they have some pitching coming back mid-year, so that's going to help them. They just have to weather this storm. I still have the Braves as the second best team in baseball. See where I am coming up in the next couple of weeks, but right now, that's where I have them. I have them at number 2, and of course, the Dodgers I have at number 1, 4-3 on the week. Their run differential's plus 150. They're 53-30, best record in baseball. Dodgers are downright dominant. They're first in the league in hitting. They are fourth in the league in pitching. Just a really good baseball team, and they fill out top to bottom my power rankings for week 13. Okay, we've got 3 big events coming up today, one of which started about 15 minutes ago, at least the pre-show did, and that is TNA Slammiversary. I'm actually excited to watch this one. I know TNA has been going through some rough times. There is talk of a sale. I'm not sure if that's something that WWE would be interested in buying. I think they might have some type of rights there. The number I heard thrown around was $30 to $40 million to buy the company. You look at their roster, I don't know if it's a $30 to $40 million of value in that roster. I still think they do have some really good young stars, whether that's Leon Slater or Ricky Sosa, even a KC Navarro. They've got some good young wrestlers here, combined with some good veteran wrestlers. So not sure what'll happen there, but I'm still excited for this card. It does start with a pre-show that started at 3:00, but there is a triple threat match. It's going to be Indy Hartwell versus Mara Sade versus Elena Black. Again, triple threat match, which should be interesting. I think the fans want to see Indy Hartwell win that one, and I wouldn't be shocked if she did. Getting into the actual card on this show, I'll just go through the matches really quick and give you my take on it. You've got Eric Young facing off against Ricky Sosa. Young, the veteran, Sosa, the youngster. I think Sosa coming back from being out for a while would not be surprised if Sosa won this one. He's the young star. You've got to lean into that. By the way, this is going to be produced by new folks with Tommy Dreamer no longer being with this promotion. So it'll be interesting to see if things change from a booking standpoint and how they book the matches, but the actual results of the matches. But I see Sosa winning this one over Young. There's the Ultimate X match for the TNA X Division Championship that's currently held by Cedric Alexander. This is going to have Cedric Alexander against a returning Amazing Red against Frankie Kazarian, Fabian Eichner, KC Navarro, Mr. Elegance, who actually impressed me this past week in the ring, and then Leon Slater. Not really sure what to think about this. Would not shock me if Cedric Alexander retained. In fact, that's going to be my pick. I think Cedric Alexander retains. If he doesn't, it would not shock me if KC Navarro won this one. We've got Elijah versus AJ Francis in a singles match. I think Elijah wins this one. Not positive. They could run this out a little bit more and have a couple more matches between the two. The story here is that AJ Francis has signed away all of Elijah's music from him, and he owns all of Elijah's music. This is a fight to get his music back, I guess a la Taylor Swift or something like that. But I'll say Elijah wins this one against AJ Francis. We've got a no surrender match. It's Eddie Edwards with Alicia Edwards in his corner versus Moose with JDC in his corner. And the way you win this match is if the opponent's sidekick throws in the towel. So if Alicia Edwards throws in the towel, Moose wins it. If JDC throws in the towel, Eddie Edwards wins it. I think this is one that Moose wins, fan favorite. Let him get all the glory in this one. I think he wins it. Mustafa Ali, I don't think he has an opponent that has been named yet. My expectation is this is going to be Apollo Crews coming over from WWE. There's been rumors that a WWE personality and former title holder is going to be in this match this afternoon, or in this card this afternoon. So I think that's who it's going to be. If it is, I think he has to win it. Apollo Crews has to win the international championship, or else why throw him in this match and have him get squashed or lose right away? That would be disappointing. You've got the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championship. It's the Elegance brand, Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance, against Demon X Bunny. That's Allie and Rosemary. Um, I'll say the Elegance brand retains here. Not certain about it, but I'll say the Elegance brand retains. I have been really impressed with M by Elegance. Did some research on her, pretty young wrestler. And again, I could throw her in that list of names with young wrestlers that TNA currently has. You've got the four-way tag team ladder match. It's the System, Bear Bronson and Brian Myers, against the Hardys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, against the Great Hands, Jason Hotch and John Schuyler, against the Righteous, Dutch and Vincent. Um, the System holds the titles. I definitely think they lose the titles in this one. I am going to say the Righteous win it. It would be great to see them get some gold. They were on Ring of Honor for a while. Ring of Honor didn't do a lot with them. Came over to TNA. They're definitely getting more airtime. Would like to see the Righteous win this one. Then you have the TNA Knockouts World Championship, Li Ying Lee against Zaya Brookside. I think Zaya wins this one. I think you have a heel TNA Knockout champion, and Zaya wins it. As much as Li Ying Lee has been a fan favorite and just recently won the title back from Ariana Grace, I think Zaya Brookside wins this one. And then the main event, singles match, Mike Santana against Nick Nemeth. All signs point to Mike Santana, this perhaps being his last match in TNA. All signs point to him being signed by WWE and going over to fight there. So I think Nick Nemeth wins this one, gets the championship, put it on his waist, see what they can do with him in a title run in TNA. The only thing that could happen is Santana retains it and you run it back in a week or two. But I'm going to say Nick Nemeth wins this one. TNA goes in a new direction without Mike Santana, which is disappointing because I think you could put this league, TNA, on Mike Santana's shoulders, but sounds like he wants to do bigger and better things. So that is it for the Slammiversary card. Let me turn my attention to the NXT Great American Bash that starts tonight at 7 o'clock. It's the first premium live event on the CW network, which means it's not really a premium live event. It is just on television, which is good for those of you that have the CW. You don't have to buy in separately. We've got 7 matches signed in this one. I will start with, and I don't know the order these are going to go in, but I'll start with Saquon Sugars against Dion Lennox. This is a grudge match. Saquon Sugars getting kicked out of Dark State several weeks ago. Sugars has taken out everybody else on Dark State. Dion Lennox is kind of his last opponent. I think Sugars beats Lennox and starts to put things on his shoulders as a singles wrestler. We've got Shiloh Hill against Tristan Angels. I think Tristan Angels probably needs this more than Shiloh Hill. Tristan Angels has fought in Evolve. Now he's fighting in NXT. He's got the look of a major star in WWE. I could see Tristan Angels winning this one in that singles match. You have the Women's Speed Championship. Ren Sinclair, the champion, against Ariana Grace. I think Ren Sinclair retains. I don't see what putting a WWE speed belt on Ariana Grace really does for her. Yeah, it would give the birthright 2 speed champions in their stable, but I think Ren Sinclair retains here. That's just how I see it. You have the NXT Women's North America Championship, Zarya against Tatum Paxley. Tatum gets her rematch. I thought Tatum was headed to WWE there for a moment. Maybe she still is. I think Zarya retains in this one, beats Tatum Paxley. Maybe this is Tatum's last match in NXT, and then she moves on as a face in WWE. I could see her going up against the new heel Lyra Valkyria. lot of options you would have with Tatum Paxley in WWE, or they could just keep her in NXT for a while. But I think this is the farewell match with Zarya. I don't think Tatum fights for the Women's North American Championship after this. You've got the men's NXT North American Championship, Miles Bourne against Tavion Heights. Tavion Heights, an up-and-comer. It's been great to see Miles Bourne and his story being deaf or partially deaf and holding this championship, but I think Tavion Heights wins this one. Tavion Heights has the look and build and talk of a WWE superstar, so I think Tavion Heights gets a chance at the championship here. Um, we then go to the NXT Women's Championship. Lola Vice, the champion, against Kendall Gray. I think Kendall wins this one. Give her the belt, see what she can do with it. She is one of the phenomenal athletes in NXT. She will be a WWEer at some point. Maybe it's closer to WrestleMania next season or after WrestleMania next year. But Kendall Gray has all the makings of a WWE superstar. Wouldn't be shocked if Lola Vice retains, but I think Kendall Gray wins this one. And then you've got the NXT Championship, Tony D'Angelo, the champion, against Naraku. This one has been building for a while. Naraku, burned Tony D'Angelo in the face last week when D'Angelo opened up the contract. I don't know if Naraku is going to bring some of his fellow New Japan Pro Wrestling stars into NXT to have some type of interference in this match. Not sure what's going to happen, but I do think Naraku wins the championship here. If he doesn't, if I'm Naraku, why would I come from New Japan Pro Wrestling over to NXT, lose the NXT championship match? Yeah, it could be a slower build of his character, but I just think Naraku wins this one and brings home the gold. So, boy, by my count, then I guess I don't have that many title changes here. I've got Tavion Heights with a title change, Kendall Gray, and then Naraku. So 3 title changes. Don't know if it'll be that much, to be honest with you, but that's just my thinking. Let's turn now to AEW versus New Japan Wrestling versus Stardom Forbidden Door. This show, 0 hour, starts at 7 p.m. tonight. Let's see, there's a couple buy-in matches. You've got the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship, Divine Dominion. They will be fighting Thunder Rosa and Olympia. Divine Dominion retains this. It's great to see Thunder Rosa in the ring. I'd like to watch CMLL a little bit more to see her more. She's definitely been fighting in CMLL more than in AEW. Thunder Rosa's an amazing story, an amazing person, super smart, super talented. But I do think Divine Dominion continues their dominance here and retains their women's tag team championship. You then also have a TBS Championship Survival of the Fittest qualifying match. This is the last spot for this Survival of the Fittest match that's going to happen next week on Dynamite to determine the new TBS champion. This qualifying match is Sky Blue against Micah. Micah from, I'm not sure if she's from CMLL or Stardom, but I do think Sky Blue wins this one and goes to the survival of the fittest match next week. All right, now, as for the main card, you've got a 3-way tag team match that I assume is going to be for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. So the new champions as of last night, El Sky team, Mascara Dorada and Mystico, they won it in their CMLL event against the Beast Mortos and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara and the Beast Mortos held the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships and lost last night to Mascara Dorada and Mystico. That actually happened Friday night, I should say. So they'll be holding the Ring of Honor titles. I assume this will be for the championship. It is El Sky team against the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and they will fight Unbound Company, which is Shingo Tagaki and Titan. This should be a banner match. I mean, a really, really good match. I'm going to say El Sky team holds the titles for a little bit longer and wins this match tonight. I can't see the Young Bucks holding the Ring of Honor championship, and I don't think Unbound Company is going to hold it either, because I don't think they're going to stick around long enough to hold matches for their championship. We've got the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. The champion Shota Umino against Pac. I think Shota retains here. You've got the AEW Women's Championship, which should be a really good match. Thekla against Starlight Kid. I think Thekla retains her championship here, but it could be a really good match. Maybe a little bit of blood involved here. There's a lot of hatred between Thekla and Stardom and really all wrestling promotions. So I'm looking forward to that match. You've got the singles match between Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre Jr. I think Kenny needs this more than Zack Sabre, so I'm going to say Kenny wins it. Could lead to a championship match for him against MJF at some point. Could Kenny win the AEW championship before before All In Wembley Stadium? Could it be Kenny Omega against Will Ospreay for the AEW championship? I think it could at All In Wembley Stadium. You've got, speaking of Will Ospreay, you've got the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Tournament Final. It's Swerve Strickland against Will Ospreay for the title, or for the Owen Hart Championship. Of course, the winner gets to pick their opponent at All In Wembley Stadium. Everything points towards Will Ospreay winning this, picking his opponent at Wembley Stadium. I assume that opponent will be MJF until or if MJF loses that belt, like I said, to Kenny Omega. Then it could be Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. That's just what I foresee happening. You've got the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament Final. It's Mercedes Moné against Maya World. Maya World's story has been great, losing her brother a couple weeks ago, getting her way to the final of this match. She has improved significantly in the time I've watched her in Ring of Honor and in AEW, but I think this one goes to Mercedes Moné. I think Mercedes will call her shot. Not sure it's going to be against Thekla. I assume that's who it's going to be against, but would be interesting if she would challenge Athena for the Ring of Honor championship. I think that would be really interesting. We'll see what happens there, but I think Mercedes Moné wins that one. You have the AEW Continental Championship, Jon Moxley against Bandito. This should be a really good match as well. I think Moxley retains it pretty easily. Again, a good match when I say easily. It's going to be a really hard-fought match, but I just think Moxley retains it. You've got the AEW World Tag Team Championship, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, the champions, defending those titles against the Dogs, Clark Connors and David Finlay. I think Cope and Cage retain their championship. I see some type of 3 or 4-way match at All In, probably a ladder match, probably the Bucks against Cope and Cage, against FTR. Maybe it is against the Dogs as well, something like that. But, or maybe it's against the New Day. Who knows? But I think Cope and Cage retain their title in this one. That leads me to the the steel cage match, which I assume is going to close the show out. 6-on-6 steel cage match. It is Darby Allin, Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong. They will face off against Andrade El Idolo, Jake Doyle, Kazuchika Okada, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, and MJF. If MJF wins, Mark Briscoe will never get a shot at his AEW championship. If Mark Briscoe's team wins, then Mark Briscoe gets a championship match against MJF coming up in the next week to 2, I would assume. Unless they do it at the pay-per-view before All In, which is Redemption, that could happen. But I think Redemption is going to be MJF against Kenny Omega for the World Championship. So I think Briscoe's team wins this. I think he gets a shot at MJF, and I think MJF would ultimately retain it, go into Redemption, and fight Kenny Omega. So that is the 3 matches, or 3 cards today. Obviously, we had King of the Ring, or Night of Champions yesterday. Already covered that in my podcast yesterday. So that is it. That covers the 3 matches, the 3 cards coming up tonight. Okay, that's a wrap. I appreciate everybody listening. Again, went over my Week 13 power ratings and then first covered TNA Slammiversary, and then we went through NXT Great American Bash. By the way, I've gone to at least 2 Great American Bashes in my life. This was back in the late 90s, both of them at the Baltimore Arena, and both of them related to WCW. So Great American Bash, and then, of course, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, Stardom, Forbidden Door. That's what I'll be watching tonight. I'm going to skip NXT. I'll watch that probably tomorrow. So hope you guys get to watch. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Again, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Would really appreciate that. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Leave a comment. Would love that. If you could follow me on social media, my Instagram, and TikTok handle is at TellUsEllisHQ. Then if you have questions, want to join the show, email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. Hope you have a great night. I will talk to you soon. Take care.